Picture a 10-year-old kid in a cardigan, sipping espresso, writing love poetry to girls twice his age.
This pizza is delicious.
I like it too. We have so much in common. Have you seen the back of your menu?
Adorable, right? Now picture that same kid at 20, still doing the exact same thing. Suddenly, not so adorable anymore.
Please, I do love champagne. And maybe when I turn my back, Luke can put his tongue all over it. Everything hurts.
That's the Manny Delgado experience in a nutshell. And honestly, it might be one of the biggest character disasters in sitcom history, and I know exactly how it happened. When we first meet Manny in season 1, he's this impossibly sophisticated kid who writes poetry, drinks espresso, and talks about his feelings with the emotional intelligence of a therapist.
You know, it might be easier just to pour the espresso right in the sugar.
Every morning.
He's protective of his mother, Gloria, in this sweet, old-fashioned way. He wears cardigans and scarves. He's essentially a 40-year-old man trapped in a 10-year-old's body, and it's charming as hell. The joke worked because of the contrast. Here's this kid at an age where he should be playing with action figures, but instead he's discussing French cinema and trying to win over girls with handwritten sonnets. It was absurd, but it was endearing. And crucially, the show treated him with respect. When Manny got his heart broken in those early seasons, which happened often, the show played it sincerely. Yes, it was funny that this tiny kid was so devastated over a girl who barely knew he existed, but the show also let us feel for him. His pain was real, even if the situations were ridiculous.
She has a boyfriend.
Oh, I'm sorry, mi niño.
I gave her my heart. She gave me a picture of me as an old-time sheriff. That was pretty stupid of me, wasn't it?
So what the hell happened? The simple answer is that Manny got older, but the character didn't evolve. All those quirks that made him adorable as a child became creepy when he was a teenager. His romantic pursuit of older women, which seemed innocent when he was 10, started to feel genuinely uncomfortable when he was 16. That old soul maturity that set him apart from other kids just made him seem like he couldn't connect with people his own age. But I think there's something deeper going on here. Something that gets to the heart of why later seasons, Manny feels so wrong. The show never let him fail in a way that mattered. In those early seasons, when Manny would strike out with a girl, there were consequences. He'd be sad, he'd learn something, he'd move on. But as the show went on, as Manny got more insufferable, the show kept validating his behavior. His delusions about his own appeal went unchecked. His increasingly inappropriate pursuit of women was played for laughs, but never seriously addressed. And nowhere is this more apparent than in the Sherry debacle. So in season 10, Manny dates this girl, Sherry. They eventually break up, which is pretty normal for a teenage relationship. Except Manny cannot, will not accept that it's over. And I don't mean he's sad about it for a few episodes. I mean, he becomes completely obsessed with getting her back, to the point where it dominates his storylines for literal seasons, multiple seasons, of a show that was already running out of steam. Every time Manny appears on screen, there's about a 70% chance he's going to say something about Sherry.
Here's your cappuccino. None for me. I don't need to be sharp to experience the empty void that is life without Sherry Shaker.
He's moping about Sherry. He's scheming to run into Sherry. He's talking about Sherry to anyone who will listen, and plenty of people who won't. Jay, his own stepfather, gets so tired of hearing about this girl that he literally banishes Manny from the house at one point. And honestly, fair. But Manny doesn't just pine for her in some tragic, lovesick way. He actively tries to manipulate situations to force them back together. He treats winning her back like it's a project, like she's a problem to be solved, rather than a person who has clearly, explicitly, repeatedly said she doesn't want to be with him anymore. The show wants us to see this as romantic persistence. You know, that classic rom-com energy where the guy just refuses to give up and eventually wins the girl over through sheer determination. Except that trope was already questionable in the 80s, and by 2019 it's stalking. It's not charming, it's deeply uncomfortable. And when Luke ends up kissing Sherry, Manny loses it.
Manny, I'm sorry, but I kissed Sherry. I feel terrible about it. Are you okay?
I will be. After I kick your ass! Come on!
Now, let's be clear about the timeline here. Manny and Sherry have been broken up for months at this point. She is a single person. She has made it abundantly clear she does not want to get back together with Manny. She has moved on. This is not some grey area. Manny is acting like Sherry is his property, like she's a toy that Luke took without asking. The fact that she's a whole, entire person with her own wants and agency doesn't factor into his response at all.
Manny, would you care for a champagne cocktail?
Please. I do love champagne. And maybe when I turn my back, Luke can put his tongue all over it.
It's all about his feelings, his claim on her, his wounded pride. And the show plays it straight. There's no character who pulls Manny aside and says, "Dude, you don't own her. She's allowed to kiss other people. You've been broken up for months." Instead, we're supposed to feel bad for Manny. Poor Manny, who just loves too much. Poor Manny, who's so heartbroken. Never mind that his heartbreak has morphed into an inability to respect a woman's clearly stated boundaries. This is where Modern Family fundamentally misunderstands what made young Manny's romantic failures charming. When 10-year-old Manny had a crush on a girl and got rejected, it was sweet because he was so earnest about it. He'd write her a poem, she'd politely decline, and Manny would be devastated for about one episode before bouncing back. The comedy came from the mismatch between his sophisticated approach and his actual age and experience. He was a kid playing at being a romantic, and everyone knew it, including the show.
You just seem so mature online. How could I be so stupid?
You're not stupid. Stupid is not following your heart and taking a chance on love.
I mean, what kind of 11-year-old talks like that?
But adult Manny genuinely believes he's entitled to these women's attention and affection. And when he doesn't get it, instead of self-reflection, instead of considering that maybe, just maybe, he's the problem, he doubles down. He becomes more persistent, more manipulative, more boundary crossing.
Darling, let's force our friends to sit through the rest of our lives together. Will you marry me?
Manny! No!
And the thing is, the show gives us glimpses that they know this is wrong. Jay's frustration with the whole situation, the way other characters react with visible discomfort when Manny launches into another Sherry monologue. These moments suggest the writers understand on some level that this behavior is not okay, but they never commit to actually addressing it. They want to have it both ways. They want the comedy of Manny being pathetic and obsessive, but they also want us to root for him as this hopeless romantic. You can't have both. You have to pick one. What Modern Family never seems to grasp is that there's a massive difference between a character being delusional about their own appeal, which can be funny, and a character being delusional about their own appeal in a way that makes them emotionally manipulate and boundary stomp the women around them, which is just uncomfortable television. Shows like Malcolm in the Middle understood this distinction. When the boys in that show became obsessed with girls, they were consistently shown to be wrong in their approaches. They'd try to be manipulative, it would blow up in their faces, they'd be humiliated, and crucially, they'd learn something. The show never validated their worst instincts. It held them accountable. Modern Family never holds Manny accountable. His behavior gets worse, the women around him become more uncomfortable, and the show just keeps playing the same sad trombone music like we're supposed to feel sorry for him. By the final season, Manny has learned absolutely nothing. He's still the same entitled, boundary-crossing guy he's been for years, just now with a college dropout status to add to his list of accomplishments.
I really do care about Sherry. I go to sleep thinking about her. I wake up thinking about her. When I see her, it's like my heart is smiling. Punch me. I know it sounds crazy, but I think...
Whoa! Amazing.
I can't believe you did that.
The Sherry situation could have been a turning point. It could have been the moment where Manny had to confront the fact that persistence isn't romantic when the other person has clearly said no. That you can't manipulate someone into loving you. That other people's feelings and choices matter just as much as your own. Instead, it's just another example of Modern Family taking one of its most problematic character traits and deciding that the problem isn't the behavior itself, but that we're not watching it with enough sympathy for poor, misunderstood Manny. And here's where I think Modern Family really failed Manny. They never let him be wrong about himself. The best coming-of-age stories understand that being a teenager means being delusional. You think you're smarter than you are, cooler than you are, more mature than you are. That's part of growing up. And good shows let their teenage characters confront that delusion and grow past it. Malcolm in the Middle understood this perfectly. All the boys in that family thought they were God's gift to women at various points, but the show consistently showed them being wrong. They'd try some manipulative scheme, it would blow up in their faces, and they'd be humiliated. Crucially though, That humiliation led to growth. They learned that other people weren't just supporting characters in their story. Modern Family never gave Manny that reckoning. His inflated sense of self just kept getting reinforced, to the point where, by season 11, he's this pretentious pseudo-intellectual who lectures everyone around him while accomplishing nothing. He's the guy who thinks he's too good for community college while actively failing out of university. He's stuck in this weird arrested development where he's neither the charming kid he was nor the adult he needs to become.
Mamiya, what is wrong with my arm?
Forget about it. Use arms, fine.
Then why won't you take a bigger juicy bite out of it?
Yo, Luigi, I think what we got here is a communication problem.
And let me tell you, watching Manny in those final seasons is like watching someone's LinkedIn profile come to life in the worst possible way. He's constantly spouting off about art and culture and philosophy, dropping references to obscure films and poets, acting like he's the only person in the room with any intellectual depth. But here's the thing, he's not actually doing anything. He's not creating meaningful art. He's not excelling academically. He's certainly not building any real relationships. He's just talking, endlessly talking about how refined and sophisticated he is while his life falls apart around him. There's this perfect encapsulation of later seasons Manny, where he shows up to family events and immediately launches into some lecture about whatever pretentious topic he's fixated on that week. And you can see it in everyone's faces, this exhausted resignation, like, oh great, here we go again. Even the family members who love him can barely tolerate being in the same room with him. That's not a lovable quirk anymore. That's just insufferable. And the show knows it. They write these moments where other characters visibly cringe at Manny's behavior, but then they never follow through. There's no episode where someone finally snaps and tells him the truth. No moment where Manny has to look in the mirror and realize that thinking you're special and actually being special are two very different things. Instead, we just watch this slow-motion car crash of a character who becomes more delusional with each passing season. The kid who used to charm us with his precocious maturity has become an adult who can't pronounce espresso correctly, but will absolutely lecture you about the proper way to appreciate Italian coffee culture. It's like watching someone cosplay as a sophisticated person without understanding that sophistication is supposed to come with actual accomplishments, or, I don't know, basic self-awareness. And I think a huge part of this comes down to how the show portrayed his relationship with Gloria.
What are you doing here?
I know that you said that you wanted your space, but it's so hard on me, okay? So I want a text message at the end of every day telling me that you're okay. And 3 times a week, a picture of your face so that I can look into your eyes and see if you're lying.
Don't get me wrong, Sofia Vergara is brilliant in the role, and the mother-son dynamic between her and Manny was often the show's beating heart in those early seasons. The fierce protectiveness, the way she'd defend him against anyone and everyone. It was genuinely touching when Manny was this sweet kid who needed that support. But Gloria is also massively overprotective, never letting Manny face real consequences for his actions. And as Manny gets older, this becomes actively destructive.
A little sensitive there.
Yeah, you have a little bite there.
Oh, my bad.
Okay, that's a little tight. But I can see where Manny gets his soft hands from.
Nothing he does is ever wrong in her eyes. He's pampered and coddled to the point where he has no reason to develop self-awareness. When Manny screws up, Gloria immediately swoops in, makes excuses, shifts blame to someone else, tells him he's perfect and everyone else just doesn't understand his genius.
Manny seems to have quite a fascination with the female nude.
So, he's a romantic.
Well, this is all his artwork over the last few weeks.
Holy moly.
There were even more, but I think the janitor took some home.
It's coming from a place of love, obviously, but it's also creating a monster. There's a reason fans started saying, Gloria is the reason Manny turned out the way he did. Because when you spend years watching a parent refuse to let their child experience even minor consequences, you start to see the direct line between that parenting style and the entitled nightmare the kid becomes. Think about how this plays out in practice. Manny fails at something. Gloria tells him the system is rigged against him. Manny behaves inappropriately with a woman. Gloria defends him as just being romantic. Manny can't keep up in college. It's the professors who don't appreciate his unique talents. Every single time, Gloria gives him an out. She fights his battles for him, removes every obstacle, smooths over every conflict. And look, I get it.
How do you call yourself Colombian after letting that skunk off the hook so easily? Tell me at least that you have one of his toes in your pocket.
Gloria's backstory is that she came from nothing and had to fight for everything she has. She doesn't want Manny to struggle the way she did. She wants to give him every advantage, to protect him from a harsh world. That's incredibly human and relatable. But there's a massive difference between supporting your kid and completely insulating them from reality. The show treats Gloria's parenting as this cute quirk, this fierce Latina mama bear energy that we're supposed to find endearing. And in small doses, with young Manny, it was. But as the show goes on, as Manny becomes more and more insufferable, the show never interrogates whether Gloria's style of parenting might be part of the problem. We never get the episode where someone sits Gloria down and says, hey, maybe letting Manny think he's perfect isn't actually helping him. We never see Gloria have to confront the reality that her overprotectiveness has left Manny completely unprepared for adult life. There's no reckoning, no growth, no acknowledgement that love without boundaries isn't actually love, it's just enabling. Instead, the show doubles down. When other characters express frustration with Manny's behavior, Gloria gets defensive. She acts like they're attacking her baby, rather than recognizing that they're trying to hold him accountable for genuinely problematic behavior. And because Gloria is one of the show's most beloved characters, the narrative kind of bends around her. We're not really supposed to think too critically about her parenting, because she's Gloria, and she's amazing, and she loves her son. But loving your son and preparing him for reality aren't mutually exclusive. In fact, they should go hand in hand. And Modern Family's refusal to engage with this creates this bizarre situation where we're watching Manny become progressively more dysfunctional. We can see exactly why it's happening, and the show just refuses to address it. What makes this all so frustrating is that the show clearly knew how to write character growth and honest parenting struggles. We watched Phil go from a slightly incompetent dad who his kids were embarrassed by, to someone who could actually handle serious situations while still maintaining his goofy charm. We watched Cam deal with his pathological need to be the center of attention and how it affected his parenting. We watched Mitchell confront his complicated relationship with Jay and work through years of feeling like he wasn't good enough. Even Gloria got some development in how she related to Claire, moving from rivalry to genuine sisterhood, learning to see past her own pride and insecurities. The show was capable of taking its characters' flaws and turning them into opportunities for growth, but Manny just became more of what he already was, with none of the charm that made it work in the first place. The writers seem to think that consistency was the same thing as character development. Like, Manny was pretentious in Season 5, so let's make him more pretentious in Season 10. Except, that's not growth, that's just calcification. And Gloria's dynamic with him stayed exactly the same. She was overprotective when he was 10, she's still overprotective when he's 20. The show never let either of them evolve past these initial character traits, even as those traits became increasingly problematic in new contexts. By the series finale, the show seems to finally acknowledge this. Manny makes the decision to go traveling with his biological father, Javier, stepping out of Gloria's shadow and finally trying to figure out who he is outside of his mother's orbit. It's framed as this moment of growth, this necessary step into adulthood, but it feels too little, too late. We've spent years watching this character become increasingly unlikable, and now, in the final episode, we're supposed to believe he's turning things around. It doesn't feel earned. It feels like the writers finally realized they'd written themselves into a corner and needed to give Manny something resembling an arc. The tragedy of Manny Delgado is that he didn't have to end up this way. The blueprint for how to age up a precocious child character successfully was right there in other shows. But Modern Family kept trying to force the same character beats that worked when he was 10, and it just didn't translate. They took one of their most unique, interesting characters and slowly transformed him into someone nobody wanted to watch. And that's really the saddest part of all this. Somewhere in there, buried under all the pretension and entitlement and inappropriate behavior, is still that sweet kid who wrote poetry and loved his mother and just wanted to be taken seriously. But by the time the show ended, it was impossible to find him anymore. But it's not even just me saying it. This is a common opinion among Modern Family fans. In fact, there's a whole Reddit thread dedicated to hating Manny on the Modern Family subreddit. Just see some of the things fans had to say about Manny in the later seasons. And I think that pretty much sums up why Manny Delgado is the most disliked character in Modern Family history.